Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Christina and I make historical clothing. My current project is actually working on the World War II American 1940s Navy Waves ensemble. So here are a few pieces from it. This is a beautiful navy blue wool suit. And then we have the adorable little hat here. And I've reproduced this based on an original. It comes with little hat covers that snap on. But the main thing we're doing today is we'll be making a part of this shirt. Oh, cute little tie. Oh my gosh, these are adorable. Look, I've actually just pinned it on, but these just button on underneath here. This again, a reproduction based on an original. So I will be releasing patterns for all of this hopefully soon. So the thing we're doing today actually is just a little section from my instructions, and that is going to be how to do these little plackets, because when I looked at these initially, I have a lot of sewing books from the era, and I looked through them to try to figure out, okay, how did they do this? Are there instructions? And there weren't. For this particular one, it was unique. These were made in a factory very quickly to get the women into service. So WAVES actually stands for Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Service. So that tells you anything. Everything was sewn very quickly, and it was designed by a famous designer, but then sewed very, very, very quickly. So this is the one we're going to be making. Here we are, just like that. And you'll see on the inside, it's a little bit messier than usual, but not too bad. So I'm going to show you how to do this. We're going to do it pretty quick. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, here's a little sneak peek at my pattern and the placket pieces. So. All right, and this, the under placket, and the instructions will tell you how to do everything, but basically I have you do all the ironing first. You iron under this edge right here, and then for this, okay, here we have the placket guide, and this is actually just a piece of paper that you are going to put on your fabric, so you can iron it into this perfect little point right here. And so these instructions are just telling you, hey, this is where it's going to go. So I've already ironed this, so you can see pretty clearly how that happened, just like that. So we put that on there, you iron this, like this, and then this one over, boom, perfect little point once you have it all ironed. And then you can stitch it down. It makes it way easier to stitch that down, and all you really needed was a little piece of paper to help you. Okay, I've already made one placket, as you can see here, so I want to make sure that my second placket is a mirror image of that. And so I want to make sure all my pieces are going to line up. I've got little slits right here. That's going to line up. Then I've got my little slits up here, little notches. So that's going to line up just like that. And the way I think they did this in the factory is I think they started with all their pieces up, and then you'll see when we sew them, everything stays up so you don't get it mixed up. So, all right, let's give it a shot. All right, we've got all of our pieces over here, and the first thing we're going to do the under placket, which is the skinnier one, and all you're going to do is slide it, keep it right side up, slide it under here, match your little notches up. All right, I'm going to pin this in place. You don't need too many pins, it's just this little short edge here. And this actually extends a little bit past where that slit is. So that's as it should be. And I'm going to stitch this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I know where that is on my machine. It's pretty much, if I line the edge up with the opening I can see in my presser foot, then I know that that's a 1/4 inch. So we're dealing with pretty small seam allowances, but actually makes it easier because then we don't have to trim them. All right, that's done. Great, and the nice thing about this being pre-ironed is I basically just have to fold it over like that, and you can pin it if you want. Also see this little tail there. We want to make sure that sticks out, and we also want to make sure that it gets stitched down. So I'm going to go ahead and flatten this. Here we are. And I'm going to sew right along this edge right here. Okay, Now I'm going to be a little bit neat, but the originals are actually not that neat. They're kind of messy. Like I think sometimes the understitching or the stitching underneath shows a little bit. There we go. All right, that's good. Okay, remember how we had everything with the right side up? Now we put our outer placket here with the right side up, and so we're just going to slip that underneath, and we're going to line up these little notches right here and pin those. Now on this one, these little clips actually do line up, and you do want to make sure those line up when you go to stitch it. Okay, back at the machine, again, 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm just sewing down this line right here, and all the way to the end of these clips. Right to that corner, right there. Look at that. There you are. Okay, now we're going to pull this out onto the right side, and this little seam allowance here, that actually goes away from the slit, and this fold that we did before just folds over like that. And we are actually going to top stitch this, and I like to do it from the inside so that you can see where your clip is. And I'm going to put a pin right there so that I can see, and I'm just going to top stitch right along there. Remove my pin, and I'm not going to back stitch or anything, because in the next step we're going to sew over that, and we don't need any extra stitching going on there. Right here. There we go. All right, we're looking at it from the outside now. There's our top stitching. And so now all we have to do is fold the rest of this under like it was previously ironed. And we just pin it in place. And it's pretty easy to do. Now make sure that this covers this, especially at this point where you stop stitching. And I'm going to put a pin there, and it's a lot easier if you can kind of see that pin while you're going. I know it's not ideal to sew over it, but it does help to have that spot marked in the beginning. And I'm just going to go ahead and pin these down, and then we will top stitch this. Okay, I'm starting on the other side of the outer placket, and I'm just going to sew really close to this edge right here. Get to this little point, I'm going to pivot and just kind of want to make sure that the stitch takes so it looks neat. All right, pivot down to the point. Decent. Okay. Again, these are being made very fast, so. Right, here we go. So. It's interesting because these were designed by a high-end fashion designer, but and there's some elements that are very fashionable, very, very high-end details, but then they were constructed very quickly. Okay, so now I'm going to stitch to here, and then I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch past it. Okay, there we go, just about 1/4 inch, not much. Now I'm going to rotate. I'm going to go directly across it. This is where the pin kind of becomes a problem. I'm going to take it out. I think we can see where our spot is. Okay, so straight across here until I hit this other end, this other line. There we go. Now I'm going to go down 1/4 inch. Yay, like that. Alrighty, and now straight back across. Okay, maybe I'll back stitch a little bit just to secure that. Great, and actually that's done. Okay, there it is. Beautiful. On the inside, look at that. So it's still pretty clean. You've got this little slit here, but it's fine. It's not really a problem. And I've got some ends to clip, but there you are. Of course, you still need to add the sleeve cuff, but that is in a future step. So here we just have our placket. And we have the insides. As you can see, there's lots of strings. I see lots of strings on originals. Just sometimes they're hanging out on the outside. Just nobody bothered to clip them. But there you are. There's the inside, and that was pretty fast. And the neat thing about it is you don't actually have to flip the sleeve over. So if you're making these in an assembly line, someone hands you everything all prepared. There you go. You just sew it and I pass it on to the next step. Here we go. Here's my Waves uniform. Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful. So huge shout out to my friend Madison who let me borrow this. I agreed to do a little bit of mending on it if she would also let me copy the patterns. So I did not think I was going to get my hands on one of these. Are very rare. But she let me borrow it. Actually, everything I've been borrowing so far, this is my wonderful friend Michaela, and she gave me this. So I'm truly blessed, and I just wanted to give that shout out for this one specifically. So, all right.